What if one modern nuclear submarine fought the entire Imperial Japanese Navy? December 7, 1941. The Pacific Ocean stretches endlessly in every direction, hiding the most powerful fleet Japan has ever assembled. 10 fleet carriers, 18 battleships, 35 cruisers, over 100 destroyers cutting through dark water in tight formation. The Imperial Japanese Navy at the absolute peak of its power, sailing toward a war it believes it can win in 6 months. But 200 meters beneath the surface, something else is moving. Something that doesn't belong in 1941. A 9,000-ton black shape, 353 feet long, running silent at 35 knots through water so cold and dark no human eye could see it. The USS Seawolf, America's most advanced nuclear attack submarine from 2024, has materialized directly beneath the largest fleet Japan ever put to sea. Its crew has no orders, no support, no resupply convoy coming. Just 50 weapons, the most sophisticated sonar array ever built, and the entire Imperial Japanese Navy sitting directly above them. So, what happens when the deadliest underwater hunter in history goes to war against 400 ships of steel? Can one submarine sink an entire navy? Or does sheer numbers eventually find what's hiding in the dark? Give me a second. Spec breakdown: the Seawolf. First, let's look at exactly what just slipped beneath those Japanese hulls. The USS Seawolf is the apex predator of the underwater world. She weighs 9,138 tons submerged, stretches 353 feet, longer than a city block, and is powered by a single S-6W nuclear reactor that can run for 30 years without refueling. She can dive past 2,000 feet, deep enough to crush conventional submarines like tin cans. Her top speed classified, but confirmed above 35 knots submerged, faster than most of the surface ships hunting her. Her weapons load is where things get devastating. The Seawolf carries 50 weapons across 8 torpedo tubes, the most tubes fitted to any American submarine since World War II. These include Mark 48 80 cap torpedoes, each carrying a 650-pound shaped charge warhead that travels at 55 knots and can steer itself onto a target from 5 miles away. She also carries Tomahawk cruise missiles, capable of hitting surface targets from 1,000 miles, and Harpoon anti-ship missiles that skim the surface at 500 miles per hour and hit with enough force to break a destroyer in half. But the Seawolf's real weapon is silence. Her hull is coated in anechoic tiles that absorb sonar pulses. Her machinery mounts on isolated rafts that isolate every vibration from the hull. At low speed, she is acoustically quieter than ocean background noise. The best Japanese sonar technology in 1941 involves a trained operator pressing his ear against a hydrophone. The Seawolf's BSY-2 combat system processes millions of acoustic data points per second and can track dozens of contacts simultaneously across an ocean. The Japanese fleet above cannot hear her. They don't know she exists. Lieutenant Commander David Reyes, the Seawolf's executive officer, stares at the sonar display and counts contacts. His crew has been doing the same for 4 hours. The picture is extraordinary. Every ship in the Imperial Japanese Navy laid out across his screen like a map. He turns to his captain. "Sir, we have the whole fleet." The opposition: Imperial Japanese Navy. Now, let's understand exactly what the Seawolf is looking at. The Imperial Japanese Navy in 1941 is not simply a large force. It is a precision instrument built over decades by men who understood that Japan's survival depended on controlling the Pacific. Their flagship carriers, Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, Hiryu, Shokaku, Zuikaku, carry over 400 aircraft flown by the most experienced naval aviators on Earth. Some of these pilots have been flying combat missions since 1937. Their battleships are engineering masterpieces. The Yamato and Musashi, each displacing 72,000 tons, carry 18.1-inch guns, the largest ever fitted to a warship, capable of hurling a shell the weight of a small car over 25 miles. Their hulls are subdivided into hundreds of watertight compartments, specifically designed to absorb torpedo damage and keep fighting. Their destroyers, the Fubuki class, are faster and better armed than anything the Western powers have at sea in 1941. Their crews practice torpedo attacks obsessively, training at night, in bad weather, at full speed, until the drills become reflex. This fleet sank the British battleships Prince of Wales and Repulse in 90 minutes. It destroyed the American Pacific Fleet at Pearl Harbor before breakfast. It swept the Dutch, Australian, and American navies from Southeast Asian waters in 3 months. It has never lost, and it has no idea what is underneath it. 0600. The Seawolf selects her first target. Captain's orders are simple: carriers first. Always. Kill the air wings and the fleet goes blind. The Seawolf rises to periscope depth and acquires firing solutions on Akagi and Kaga, the 2 largest carriers in the formation, running parallel 800 yards apart. 2 Mark 48s leave the tubes 3 seconds apart, running hot and quiet at 55 knots on independent guidance tracks. Petty Officer Kenji Hashimoto is on watch aboard the Akagi when the ship shudders beneath his feet. The torpedo detonates against the keel, not the hull. Against the keel, the shaped charge directs its full force upward into the Akagi's internal structure, breaking her at the center in a single catastrophic frame failure. She begins folding at the center immediately. The second torpedo finds Kaga 11 seconds later. 2 fleet carriers are dying and nobody on the surface knows what killed them. 0608. Panic spreads through the fleet. Japanese destroyer captains do what they're trained to do. They assume submarine attack and begin an immediate search pattern, racing toward the last known position of their flagship carriers and dropping depth charges in expanding arcs. The explosions are enormous. Columns of white water 80 feet high crashing down across the search area. The Seawolf is already gone. It has dropped to 800 feet, far below the maximum depth settings on Japanese depth charges, and is accelerating away at 30 knots. By the time the first depth charge detonates, she is 2 miles from her firing position. The Japanese destroyers are pinging an empty ocean. Commander David Reyes watches the contacts on his display, reading the Japanese response with professional admiration. "They're fast," he says. "They know their doctrine." His sonar operator nods. "Good thing their doctrine is 80 years out of date, sir." 0645. The Seawolf repositions and resumes. 3 more carriers, the Soryu, Hiryu, and Shokaku. 3 more firing solutions built at leisure from 4 miles away, well beyond any possibility of visual or acoustic detection. The Japanese anti-submarine screen is aggressive, but it's searching the area around the dead carriers. The Seawolf is already behind them. 5 torpedoes run. 3 carriers begin flooding within minutes of each other. On the bridge of the Zuikaku, Vice Admiral Chuichi Nagumo is receiving damage reports that make no operational sense. 5 carriers struck in under an hour. No attacker visible on the surface. No aircraft. No torpedoes sighted before impact. He does not know the word stealth. He knows the feeling of it. 0830. The Seawolf switches weapons. Carriers are gone or dying. Now the Tomahawks come out. The cruise missiles breach the surface one by one, ignite their turbofans, and drop to 50-foot altitude, racing toward pre-calculated firing solutions at 550 miles per hour. The Yamato's lookout spots something low and fast on the horizon and open fire with anti-aircraft guns designed to engage aircraft at 300 miles per hour. The math doesn't work. The first Tomahawk strikes the Yamato's number 2 turret at 550 miles per hour, detonating 1,000 pounds of high explosive against 26 inches of the heaviest armor ever fitted to a warship. The turret doesn't penetrate. Reyes expected this. The second and third Tomahawks are programmed for the deck, amidships, above the armor belt, targeting the fuel and aviation stores. The resulting fires are not survivable. The Musashi watches her sister ship burn from 3 miles away. His captain orders evasive maneuvers. There is nowhere to evade. The Seawolf's firing solutions update automatically as the targets move. 10:15. The Japanese fleet attempts its final adaptation. This is where the Japanese Navy does something remarkable. Destroyer Squadron 10, commanded by Captain Tamechi Hara, one of the finest destroyer officers Japan ever produced, stops searching where the attacker came from. He starts thinking about where the attacker has to go next. He spreads his 12 destroyers in a wide picket line across the fleet's path of retreat, drops hydrophones at intervals, and orders his ships to go completely silent. No engines above minimum, no
unnecessary noise, just listening. For 17 minutes, the tactic almost works. The Seawolf's passive sonar picks up the picket line and Reyes brings her to a full stop, hovering at 600 feet, running on battery power alone, waiting. Both sides sit in absolute silence in the dark water. 2 different centuries occupying the same ocean, each waiting for the other to move first. Hada's destroyers cannot wait forever. They have a fleet to escort. After 23 minutes, the formation resumes course. The Seawolf lets them pass overhead, then she rises behind them. By 1400, the engagement is effectively over. 6 fleet carriers sunk, both Yamato-class battleships burning and taking water, 11 cruisers destroyed by harpoon and tomahawk strikes, 14 destroyers sunk attempting close-range anti-submarine prosecution. The Seawolf expends 41 of her 50 weapons. She suffers no damage. Her crew is exhausted, running on 4 hours of silent tension, but she is fully operational. Captain Hada's destroyer survives. He will spend the rest of the war writing reports about an enemy that fought without sound, without surface presence, without any characteristic his training taught him to recognize. His reports will be filed and largely ignored, because there's no framework in 1941 to understand what he is describing. But here's the thing about winning a battle and losing a war. The Seawolf has no port to return to, no resupply ship, no relief crew. She carries 9 weapons. The Imperial Japanese Army is still intact across 6,000 miles of Pacific Islands. Japan's industrial base is untouched. Its merchant fleet still runs. Its army still fights. One submarine, no matter how advanced, cannot occupy territory, cannot hold a harbor, cannot stop a nation that has been building toward this war for 20 years. What the Seawolf accomplished is extraordinary. What it changes is less clear. She didn't end the war. She ended a fleet. And sometimes that's all one weapon can ever do. Or what do you think would happen? Could one submarine really break the back of the Japanese Pacific strategy? Let me know below. And if you're curious what would happen if a modern destroyer fought the entire Spanish Armada, that video is on screen right now. Thanks for watching.